Hey, I'm Neil and welcome to my channel where I teach you about wealth building, personal finance, but most importantly, property investing and how to actually grow and build a property portfolio that makes you £10,000 per month. Sounds hard, but it's a lot easier than you might think. In today's video, I'm actually going to answer a question which I get asked all the time, which is, Neil, can you still make money from HMOs right now? So one of the things I keep hearing all the time is HMOs don't work anymore. You know, as of 2020, that's it. HMOs no longer work. And again, this is nonsense. I hear it on Facebook, I hear it on forums, I hear it at networking events, hear it at property events and speakers. Here's the facts and you know, here's the truth behind it. It doesn't work for those people because they've obviously stopped learning and improving and the like. So HMOs don't work for them. For people like me, my business partner, and my students, HMOs are a goldmine. They give us a fantastic lifestyle and it allows us to live the life that we want to live, and we love what we do with HMOs. So do they still work? Absolutely yes, and let me tell you now why they work. Okay, so the first point then is land, or rather lack of land. So here in the UK, we're a small island. All right, we're not like the USA or Russia with this huge land mass where they can build anywhere. You know, land's cheap, building houses and the like are cheap because they use wood and things like that. The UK is very expensive. Land is at a high premium. It's one of the highest in the world for land. Property is expensive to build because we use bricks and the like, very heavy materials, long lasting but very heavy materials. So that's the first thing. We can't just build more land, so we have to work with what we've got. The second thing is immigration, or we could say birth rate. All right, so we're having lots of children constantly born, and we're having an influx. So there's more people coming into the UK than there are leaving or dying each year. So that's a simple economics issue of supply and demand. So what that means is that the demand is increasing faster than the supply can keep up. So that is one of the reasons why HMOs have grown so much. Now, I remember in 2005 when I first started getting started in property investment, there was no such thing as an HMO, or if there was, no one knew it by that name. I'd never heard of sharing before. And in fact, you go to the USA, they still don't share right now. And again, it's simply because of what I just mentioned here about the land and the immigration and the supply and demand ratio. So we have this very unique challenge. And the challenge is, how do we get more houses, or how do we get more rooms out of what is already here with the land? Well, there's only a couple of options. We can build up, we can keep building up like New York or something like that, where they've got all these skyscrapers, or in London, these huge skyscrapers of accommodation now and apartments. That's one option. The other option is, in cities or large towns where that isn't maybe viable, is HMOs. So an HMO is a house of multiple occupation. Is where, let's say, 3 or more people who don't know each other, they're not related or they're not married or anything like that. 3 or more people will share a house, and it is usually a house. It's not usually an apartment and things because of the lease and the law around it. So that's what it is. A few people will share a house. So the rise of HMOs has been huge. Now, I first heard about HMOs in 2010, so 10 years ago now. And back then, I didn't really take them seriously. I didn't know if it was going to, sort of pick up, if it would be a good investment strategy. And I really wish I bought more houses back then to turn them into HMOs, because I would have tripled my money by now in terms of the growth and the conversion. So that's one thing that if I had my time again, I would definitely have gone back and bought more HMOs. But it's the same with serviced accommodation. I was a couple of years behind with getting started with serviced accommodation because I didn't know if it was going to take off. I didn't know if there was going to be all these laws and restrictions. But again, that hasn't happened, which is why I've gone into serviced accommodation early and building that portfolio. HMOs, I'm really glad I started when I did, but you know what? You can still get started now, whether you're doing it as HMOs and buying or you're doing rent to rent. There really isn't that many restrictions on you. Yes, there's laws, and let me just outline a couple. You've got, say, Article 4, which people see as a barrier to entry to getting started in rent to rent, for example, HMOs. I don't see it that way at all. I actually see it as a good thing because I don't target unlicensed properties anyway. I want larger properties because when I get a larger property, it means that I'm going to make more money because you need a little bit more of an experience with this. And a lot of the landlords are usually a lot older. This is the advantage that a lot of trainers don't teach you. A lot of the landlords are a lot older that are doing licensed HMOs. And they get into retirement age now, they don't want to deal with it. So they want to pass it on to someone like you to actually manage their HMOs for them, run their HMOs. So this is why I love HMOs, and Article 4 for me is a good thing. The next point that people throw up as an objection is the competition. People say, oh Neil, there's too much competition now in HMOs, everyone's doing it. Yeah, but you know what? It doesn't make any difference. Even though there's loads of people doing it, it doesn't mean that you can't. You've just got to know how to be, not in this whole big category here. You want to be in the top. Like, how can you make your HMOs really, really successful? So a couple of tips here. When we take on our HMOs or rent to rents, we're not paying what everyone else is paying. This is why they go bankrupt and out of business. We will always offer much lower, and we'll validate why we're offering lower. And even just this weekend gone, I met with a landlord who said he had 8 properties. He wanted to give these 8 properties, but he said he wanted £1,000. He was getting £1,000 from these other people he did a rent to rent with. I said, I'm not giving £1,000, I'll offer £800. He said, yeah, but they paid £1,000. And I said, yeah, and that's why they went into administration and bankrupt. They paid you too much. They couldn't make any margin. You squeezed them too much. So I'll pay you £800. And that way I will make a profit, you'll be happy, and there won't be any issues with it. So when you get the properties at that price, it means you can make a good margin, you can invest into your HMOs, you can do the renovations, you can decorate really nice, beautiful furniture, you can really look after the property. And that means that, if you've got a property and it's at the top level, it's this beautiful house, and you're competing with other people whose property isn't that nice, then you can actually put your rooms a little bit lower in terms of price, and you'll outcompete them and you'll win, so you won't have voids. So that is just one little tip. I could tell you 100 tips, but let's keep moving forward. And lastly, this is another problem that I'm seeing with a lot of people. I'm going to show you what this problem is. A lot of people that started in HMOs back in the day, they were just catering these HMOs to any age group. You can't do that anymore. Here's what I'm seeing. A lot of people are doing HMOs, and their age group, they might have 40 or 50-year-olds in the HMOs. Wrong target market, because those people now have got a lot of choice as there's more HMOs and competition, and they'll just compete purely on price. You don't want to compete on price, you want to compete on experience. So here's what we always look at. You've got your millennials and you've got your Generation Z. So let me just explain what I mean by this. Millennials are going to be your main target market, and these are, let's say, 24 to 38-year-olds, let's just say. These Generation Z are like 4 to 25 right now, something like that. So they're not going to be a heavy market for you. Maybe the 23 to 25 will be, but your main market here is going to be your millennials, so that's 24 to 38 years old. All right, so this is where you're going to be targeting. That makes it a lot easier for you. So straight away you can ask the question, for people of this age group, what is it they're looking for? They're obviously not looking for something that a 60-year-old would look for, which is old solid furniture and these sort of things, a nice comfortable place like that. It's going to be very different. These people want something modern. They don't really want, solid wooden furniture. They might want something different, something that's like quite trendy and quite cool. They're going to want feature walls, nice wallpaper, nice design. They want it a little bit quirky so they can live that experience. Think Instagram. That's the main thing you want to think about. Instagram, a little bit of Facebook, but 90% Instagram. It's the Instagram generation. What is it that they're looking for? If you just think about that, you'll be able to design your HMOs a lot better so that you know exactly who you're targeting. So when they come and book that viewing, you can tailor your whole presentation, the viewing, the whole house, the decoration, the furniture, everything to your specific target market, as opposed to trying to appease everyone. If you just follow these tips, I guarantee you, you'll be highly successful with your HMOs from 2020 right through to 2030. Good luck.